but obviously I have different interpretations of what vibes really means in the Jamaican and outside of the Jamaican context. But I was happy to see Jamaicans at home and abroad. They were in sync in terms of watching this news and reacting to it. And obviously in his era where he's from in Waterford, aka Gaza, it was euphoria again when he got home. So it was definitely excitement. For me, however, like I like to contextualize Vybz. I actually think Vybz Kartel is very interesting as a character. In terms of explaining Jamaican dancehall culture and explaining Jamaicans. And so there are two layers that come across to me. One is, he's iconic dancehall artist. They've missed him. He actually changed the trajectory of dancehall, if we're to be honest, in terms of the speed with which he writes and produces content, and also how he made dancehall artists know that you can commodify dancehall in a way you can like make money off the brand and all of that. So that he was really good at, and people missed like all of that impact. And then there's the polarizing Vybz Kartel, the socio-political conversation about what does he represent when he comes out now. Is he gonna go in a kind of political direction? Is he going to, garner some kind of extra iconic status with the masses and move them in a certain direction? So there's that kind of conversation as well when you see these reactions, because like man on the street was like, this is our hero. He represents poor people who have been disenfranchised by the system. He's the free guy that we can now hold up and be elated about. And then there are others of us who are like, so what does this mean? How does he leverage this, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, the fact that he was released the day before Emancipation Day, did that kind of fuel the elation in any way? Like
viral, in my humble opinion, and I think other music genres from the African diaspora, Afro beats, for example, I think sort of took a bit of that fire, Now, Vybz Kartel, he's one of those rare dancehall artists whose influence extends far outside of the music industry, right? And the one glaring, example I can reference is the song Clarks. When he recorded the song, Clarks back in 2010, it's a song where he's, shamelessly celebrating these Clark shoes that were manufactured by this multinational company called Clarks. And it's a British company, it's been around since the 1800s. A lot of Jamaicans, people in the Caribbean, people around the world, even people outside of dancehall, punk rockers in the UK, they'd already adored these shoes, right? As these shoes, they kind of represent a certain style and take on upward mobility. The British shoes, Jamaica was obviously colonized by England, and they're really nice shoes. Like I own a pair of black leather shoes, like straight. And anyways, when he recorded the song and different, renditions of the song, right? I don't have exact numbers on this, but sales of the shoes, of the Clark shoes, they must have skyrocketed 100-fold. Okay, everybody was talking about Clarks for what felt like about maybe between a 2 to 3 year period. And and to capitalize on the Clarks craze, Vybz Kartel, he released more songs. There was Clarks and there was Clarks 2. Another song called Clarks 2, Clarks again, another song called Clarks 3. Like where, and then now the downside to that explosion was that the prices for Clark's shoes in Jamaica, they increased considerably, so it became less accessible. And then, but when we talk about the impacts, you look at another dancehall artist like Popcorn. Years later, you saw Popcorn. He's a protege of Vybz Kartel. He's all of a sudden doing these collaborations with Clarks, the company, and reworking their classic, original Wallabies boot, right? So outside of the music industry, we talk about the worlds of fashion and popular culture. His influence extends way outside of the music industry.
Mm-hmm. There's obviously that huge economic impact that we're talking about. So it's music, it's fashion, but also there is this, when we talk about his influence, there's this troubling decision he made where he bleaches his skin, which, I actually